The inner workings of the royal family are shrouded in secrecy, but one figure from within the walls of the royal castles is now dishing on some truly saucy secrets. Former royal chef Darren McGrady has seen it all, and the proof is in the pudding. Balmoral Castle, the Scottish home of the royal family, where they frequently stayed for summer holidays, was the favourite residence of the late Queen Elizabeth II. The family used the space as a retreat where they could enjoy the outdoors and escape from the bustle of London. In the documentary Our Queen at 90, Princess Eugenie said of her grandmother at Balmoral,
I think Granny is the most happy there, and I think she really, really loves the Highlands.
The Queen died at age 96 on September 8, 2022, while at Balmoral, solidifying the castle as a major landmark in her life. Former royal chef Darren McGrady expanded on the royal family's love of Balmoral while in conversation with Marie Claire. He explained, Balmoral is where the royal family really let their hair down. They relax and have fun. You see them all the time. At Buckingham Palace, the Queen was too busy and the kitchen's too far from her apartment, so we never saw her. At Balmoral, we'd see her all the time. They were much more relaxed and had more free time. Darren McGrady knew some of the more intimate details about members of the royal family because of his place in the kitchen. For instance, he knew that the late Princess Diana struggled with an eating disorder. Diana battled bulimia for years, something she spoke about via confessional tapes in Andrew Morton's biography, Diana, Her True Story. She said, the bulimia started the week after we got engaged and would take nearly a decade to overcome. McGrady was actually someone who got involved once Diana overcame bulimia, as he would then cook especially healthy food for her. He told Marie Claire, one day she said to me, Darren, I want you to take care of all the fats, and I'll take care of the carbs at the gym. We changed everything. I threw out my Buckingham Palace recipe book and got into healthy eating. When she was at Buckingham Palace, her bulimia was definitely a hidden thing. He went into detail about Diana's food preferences, saying, we didn't know about it. It wasn't until she confronted it and everyone put two and two together that she started really healthy eating. She liked dishes like stuffed bell peppers and stuffed eggplant. She loved fish. McGrady added that Diana disliked eating red meat, and on the rare occasions she did eat meat for public-facing events, she chose lamb. While the royal family dressed up when an event called for glitz, they could also be extremely casual. This was certainly the case with the late Prince Philip, who once looked so casual that chef Darren McGrady mistook him for the Balmoral gardener. McGrady told Marie Claire, he came into the kitchen and I thought he was the gardener. He was this old man in tatty old clothes. He had a jumper on with the arms hanging out at the elbows, all tattered and worn. I looked and thought, oh, it's the gardener. It was only after I looked closely that I saw it was Prince Philip. Part of the reason that Philip dressed so casually, especially at Balmoral, was because he loved cooking on the grill outside. McGrady recalled the ways in which the prince incorporated local foods into the family meals. He explained, Philip would cook out on the grill. He'd come down to the kitchens and discuss what food we'd have. Do we have any salmon that any of the family have caught? The Queen's been picking strawberries with Princess Margaret. Let's have those for dinner. In spare, Prince Harry also recalled Philip on the grill at Balmoral. Grandpa, who'd set off half an hour before us, was already tending his grill at the back of the lodge. He stood amid a thick cloud of smoke, tears streaming from his eyes. He wore a flat cap, which he took off now and then to mop his brow or smack a fly. There are several stories of the late Princess Diana taking her sons out on outings to give them a more normal taste of life. They rode London buses together, and she took them to Thorpe Park, an amusement park outside of London, where they had to line up for rides the same as everyone else. But she also brought normality to Princes William and Harry's lives through food, namely trips to McDonald's. Chef Darren McGrady told Marie Claire that he tried to persuade Diana away from the fast food joint, telling her that he could make a better version of the menu.
When it comes to burgers, there's burgers and there's burgers.
But Diana wanted the boys to have that experience. The chef explained, I remember the princess came into the kitchen one day and said, cancel lunch for the boys, I'm taking them out. We're going to McDonald's. And I said, oh my god, your Royal Highness, I can do that. I can do burgers. And she said, no, it's the toy they want. Yeah, the boys loved McDonald's and going out to pizza and having potato skins, sort of the American foods. They were royal princes but had children's palates. He said that they'd come home and watch Blind Date, a British reality show. They'd allegedly holler at the TV and laugh while they ate fast food. Sounds like some great memories. The corgis belonging to the late Queen Elizabeth really were everything and had free reign over palace grounds. In fact, the corgis almost had a little too much license, as they once happened to chase Chef Darren McGrady. He told Marie Claire, I saw this lady walking dogs and as I got closer, I realised it was the Queen. I thought, this is so exciting, I'm going to speak to the Queen. I remembered thinking, you've got to say Your Majesty first, after that it's ma'am. But the dogs saw me and started barking, and all 12 corgis started running after me, so I turned around and started running the other way. I could hear the Queen laughing. She thought it was hilarious. When he wasn't being chased, part of McGrady's culinary duties included feeding these royal canines, and their menu was no less involved than that belonging to the royal family. McGrady told Hello magazine that the corgi's menu rotated between beef, chicken, lamb, and rabbit. He had to carefully dice the meat after cooking it to ensure that there were no bones, and then the Queen herself would feed them. There were elements of Queen Elizabeth's life that were lavish, to be sure, but she was a surprisingly frugal person too. Darren McGrady had previously worked at the Savoy, a swanky hotel in London, before getting hired to cook for the royal family. However, cooking for the Queen could be unexpectedly low-key. McGrady told Coffee Friend, "When I moved from the Savoy to Buckingham Palace, I thought every day would be smoked salmon, foie gras, caviar, but no, the Queen is very, very frugal, and it's simple and plain foods." That comes from her early years of growing up during the war. When the royal chefs were cooking for big events, it was as sumptuous as we'd expect. But the Queen herself kept things very simple and didn't like to waste. McGrady spoke at the West Coast Women's Show and shared how the Queen would squeeze a lemon wedge and send it back to the kitchen to be used again. McGrady said, "If we did a Sunday roast of beef or venison or chicken, if there was anything left, she would ask that it be used for pie. It's from growing up during the war." As noted, Queen Elizabeth famously exhibited wartime frugality and didn't promote excess, even with food. McGrady told the Daily Mail, "She's not a foodie at all. She eats to live. It's Prince Philip that lives to eat. He loves food. He's interested in food. He wants to know where it comes from. The Queen, not so much." However, there was one major exception for the Queen. She couldn't resist chocolate. McGrady told the Food Network that this was her major food vice, explaining, "The Queen's a chocoholic, loves anything chocolate on the menu." In fact, when making menus for the Queen's approval, McGrady could pretty much guarantee that she'd select the desserts with chocolate in them over anything else. McGrady later spoke about her choices in cakes which were, unsurprisingly, also chocolate-scented. Quite a shocker, huh? When it came to her favourite kind of chocolate, McGrady explained that dark chocolate was her absolute favourite, claiming that the Queen would enjoy anything dark chocolate, and that her personal dessert philosophy was, the darker the better. In fact, the Queen even kept little boxes of chocolate in her bedroom in case she wanted a late-night sweet. Queen Elizabeth didn't like it when the royal kitchens cooked with garlic. In fact, Chef Darren McGrady told the Daily Mail that the Queen completely banned it from the kitchen when she would be present for meals. Hilariously though, it wasn't a unanimous opinion in her marriage. McGrady said, "We could never serve garlic to the Queen, but Prince Philip loved it. If we were at Balmoral and she was out, we'd slather his steak in garlic, but when she was at the table, there was no garlic at all. She was very Victorian and believed when she was brought up that you don't eat garlic, because if you were holding an audience the next day, you didn't want to be breathing garlic. It was seen as antisocial." In fact, McGrady noted that the Queen didn't like any food that was too spicy or left too pungent of an aroma after meals. She liked simplicity, and McGrady noted that she actually preferred plain food.
Tea? Oh, yes, please.
While we would expect nothing less, afternoon tea was an absolute must for the late Queen Elizabeth. While afternoon tea might not strike one as a meal per se, Chef Darren McGrady told Coffee Friend that afternoon tea was by far the Queen's favourite meal. He explained, "The Queen had afternoon tea every day, wherever she was in the world. If we were at Buckingham Palace and she was on her own for tea, or whether she had Prince William come and join her, or whether she had a garden party for 6,000 people, or even if she was on the Royal Britannia in Australia." McGrady said that the Queen's tea was an absolutely essential part of her day. British afternoon tea is typically served between 3 and 4 p.m, with a few sandwiches and some small cakes. When describing what accompanied the Queen's tea, McGrady said that there were usually two kinds of sandwiches with scones.
I always keep one for emergencies.
So do I. I keep mine in here.
The flavour of the scones changed daily. There would also be small tea cakes, anything from a small chocolate eclair to a larger cake from which the Queen could cut slices. Per her love of chocolate, a chocolate ganache cake was a likely sight during her tea. Queen Elizabeth's mother, the Queen Mother, was notoriously late for everything. Typically, the Queen Mother had her own residency in London, Clarence House, so her tardy nature was only a problem for herself. But when she was vacationing with the rest of the royal family, especially at Balmoral Castle, her tardiness became a family problem. The family couldn't start dinner without the Queen Mother there, and with the chefs working under a schedule, it was imperative that meals be served on time. So the royal family came up with a trick. Chef Darren McGrady told Marie Claire, dinner was at 8:30 in Balmoral when Her Majesty the Queen Mother was in attendance. They used to tell her that dinner was at 8:15 and she'd be the last one down. They told everyone else 8:30 because they knew she'd be late. Hey, a few little lies never hurt anyone. If you need help with an eating disorder or know someone who does, help is available. Visit the National Eating Disorders Association website or contact NEDA's live helpline at 1800 931 2237. You can also receive 24/7 crisis support via text. Send NEDA to 741 741.